All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Tazayin, Maseches Rosh Hashanah.
Good morning, Rabbi.
So we left off, or start by the Mishnah on top. The Mishnah says, "V'arba parakim ha'olam nidam." 4 times during the year, the world is judged. V'pesach al Teruah, on the holiday of Passover for grains, for the crops, the Atzeres, and the Shavuos, al Peiros, for fruits, al Peiros Ilan, thank you. Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, which is Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, Tezayin, Mishnah Top, yeah. Rosh Hashanah Kol Ba'olam Oivin Lefanav Kibnei Marim. So everybody walks before on Rosh Hashanah, right? Kibnei Marim. So let's see what that is. Shneimar, the pasuk says, "Hayotzer yachal libam hamevi kol ma'aseya." So it says he who created them together, so he will understand, will look into all their deeds. V'chag, and during the holiday of Sukkot, Nidan and Alamayim, then we are judged for how much water and rain, perhaps sustenance, will come to the world. So Zak the Gemara, Hi Tvua. So this Tvua, the grains, right? That is the world is judged for grains, right? So picture that by Pesach you still have the stalks, right? They've already grown, right? And they're basically, standing there, sort of, right? They just grown. They're going to be out there, so they already started growing. They already, took seed. If we're referring to the Tua that right now is in existence, so-called Hani Hafatki Dadu Allah a Masizdum. So it says if it's all that stuff, so anything that bad that occurred to it, right? So when was that judged, right? And was that which just occurred to it? When was that judged from, right? Right? Rather it means seed in the future, because it can't be the seed that basically some of it maybe have grown and it went bad, right? There was something so it can't be. So it sounds like the future. So the maybe right.
So the one that was already in Pesach,
the previous one,
the year before,
right? So the Gemara says now, L'meimra dechadina meidana. Are you telling me it's only one did time? Then I said Tvua shiraba kere onas. If a Tvua that you have over there is some sort of occurrence or accident happened there, some sort of whatever it was that destroyed the crops of the field. So if it's Kadam Pesach, if it occurred before Pesach, then it must have been from last time. Liachar Pesach, if it occurs, in other words, there's a wind blast that comes in 2 weeks and it does the Haba, then maybe it was the future one. And Adam, same thing with the person, if some occurrence or some tragedy happened to a person before Yom Kippurim, it must have been from last year. If it was after this Yom Kippur, then then maybe it was this Yom Kippur in the future. So Amar Rava, so says Rava, therefore Shmaminat Shrei Dine Mizdana. There are 2 dinim. In other words, there's one that the din for it to go ahead and grow. And then if an occurrence happens to the ones that start to grow, right, last year from before Pesach, and goes into the summer where it's still standing, then something happens to the crops then. In other words, they started to grow last year and now they're growing after this Pesach. So that is judged after the Pesach. So the same crop is judged from before and after. Or is really, it means judged twice, right? It's judged from last Pesach was for it to begin growing. Also, this one, also, its din is still on it because something can still happen to the grain before it's harvested. And Amar Abaye, and therefore Abaye says, Hilkach ki chazi inish dem atzliach zara afla likadem zara charfa. If a person sees that the crops that take a longer time to grow, in other words, they begin growing earlier, and you see that your crop is good, that you started growing right, around now, around Teves. If those crops are good, you see that we must have had a good judgment this year, and you should go ahead and plant the stuff that grow quickly at the end of the season, because he knows the din was a good din. Because my other crops, since my longer growing ones are doing good, must be having a good din. I should go ahead and hurry up and get this in. And
start of wheat, he does the whole
right, yes, right.
No, but I'm saying even in Ada you should plant because
Right. So there are certain ones that grow in
Because
30
you see
days.
it.
Right.
Okay.
So Adamati Kadam Salik, right? In other words, therefore they should be able to just sort of begin to grow before the new din comes. So Mani Masnisans. It says the Gemara, who is our Mishnah like? So Lo Rameir, Lo Rabbi Yehuda, Lo Rabbi Yossi, Lo Rabbi Nassan. Not of these four Tanaim who are all four mentioned in this Bryce. The Tanaim in the Bryce are called Nidanim B'Rosh Hashanah. Everybody is Nidanim B'Rosh Hashanah. Everybody is judged in Rosh Hashanah. In other words, in Hakol, meaning all these items, not just man, but the Tvua, the Peres Elon, the Mayim, and other. So all of them are Nidanim B'Rosh Hashanah. The Gzar Din Shaleh Nechla B'Yom Kippur. Divrei Meir says Rameir. Their din is on Rosh Hashanah, and the seal, the finishing, the sealing of the din occurs on Yom Kippurim. That's the opinion of Rameir, which is not like our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says 4 different prakim. All right, so that's we see it's not Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda Meir Hakol Nidanim Rosh Hashanah. Everybody is judged in Rosh Hashanah. The Gzar Din Shalahan Nechdam Kol Echad B'Echad B'Zmano. Each Gzar Din, each final din decree is in their Zman. The Pesach, so the final decree of Pesach has a Tvua, is for the grains, and Be'aseres, Al-Peres Elon, and for Neshuos is for the fruits of the tree, B'chag, and for Sukkot, Nidar Al-Mayim is for water, V'Adam, neither Rosh Hashanah, and man is judged in Rosh Hashanah, B'Gzar Din Shaloi, Nechla B'Yom Kippur, and his Gzar Din is in Yom Kippurim. So obviously it's not like that, because according to this one, the Din for everything is on Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Yossi Amir, Adam Nidam B'Chol Yom, a man is judged every day, not once a year, every day. Shneimar, the Pasuk says, Vatifkedenu lebikaron, right, the Baikrim, right? So it says, right, basically they'll remember it in the morning. Each morning he's remembered. Each morning he's judged. He's every moment he's judged. Right, he'll be inspected during the moments. All moments will be, he'll be inspected. He'll be judged. So you see, it's not like these 4 tonight. Our Mishnah. So maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore when our Mishnah was saying these are the 4 times the things that these items are judged, Gzar Din, he's referring to the Gzar Din. The Gzar Din of rain is during a Chag. The Gzar Din of Tvuz and Pesach, right? So Yihachi Kasha Adam, you have a problem with the man because according to that, the Gzar Din of man is when Yom Kippurim. But our Mishnah lists the din of when it begins, which is Rosh Hashanah. So Merava, so high Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel. Our Mishnah goes like the Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel, the Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel. Ba'arba parakim ha'adam ha'olam nidon. During 4 times, the world is judged. The Pesach al Tfuah. Now the Pesach for the grains, the Atzeres and Shavuos al Peres Elon for the fruits of the trees. The Chag during Sukkot nidon al Mayim, the judge for water. The Adam nidon Rosh Hashanah Gzar Din Shaloi Nechem Yom Kippur. Man, he is judged on Rosh Hashanah, and the Gzar Din, his final decree comes. Is sealed on Yom Kippurim, and that which our Mishnah wrote by Adam is Rosh Hashanah is at Tchilas Din. That's the beginning of the Din, which is Rosh Hashanah, and not the Gzar Din, which is Yom Kippurim. And Amar Rav Chizda, my time to Rav Yossi. What's the reason called Rav Yossi? So what do you mean? Could there more time? But if it says over there, like he'll be inspected, he'll be remembered every morning. So Anan Haki Kamrin. This would mean to say my time lo Amar Krab Nasa, right? Why did you not say like Rav Nassan? Rav Nassan bar apostle that says no, they're not just judged daily; they're judged every moment, right? Because the pasuk says the regaim to v'chinenu. So my time Amar Karnasan. So he says bechina when it says over there the lashon is over there the regaim to v'chinenu. So over there bechina the lashon bechina is iyun b'alma. It doesn't mean a judgment. It just means it's like inspected, right? To iyun look into, right? So the iyun b'alma. But your pasuk that you judge every day was it says over there like remembering. It means remembering. It doesn't mean a judgment. So Elam Rav Chizda time of Rav Yossi Mihacha, he brings the different puzzle. Mishpat Avdo Mishpat Amo Yisrael Devar Yom B'Yemo. It says every day, right? Each and every day. So there, in other words, they get judged each and every day. So therefore, there's another puzzle that proves Rav Yossi that they get judged daily and not every moment. The Amar of Chizda was told earlier, Melech Tzibur, the king and his people both have to be judged. Melech Nichas Tchila Ledin, the king goes in first Ledin. Shnamar says, last says Mishpat Avdoi, Mishpat Amo Yisrael. It says there the Mishpat, right, the judgment for his servant, and then the judgment of Amo Yisrael, of his nation, Israel's nation. So my time, what's the reason? Either you want to say because it's not the normal way for a king to be sitting outside waiting for dinner. But say more, you can say, you could say, let him go in before the judge, right? Becomes anger, right, from the people, and therefore, be in a bad mood, and then give a bad din to the melech. And Amar Rav Yosef, Kaman Matzlinan Ha'idno. What is the reason why we daven? Right, like who? Right? Do we say we Matzlinan Ha'idno Aksira Amiri? Right? In other words, that whose opinion? Right? Do we hold like that? We go ahead and we cry out for those who are sick and those who are weak. In other words, if you hold it, the Gzar Din is once a year. So then, what does my tefillas help? What does my tefillas help then? Right? So Ibai saying, so he says, come on, who's that? Like Rabbi Yossi? It must be like Rabbi Yossi, because since I'm davening every day, it's because it's a new Gzar Din every day. So let me daven because there's a new din. Or Ibai saying, it's the Rabbanan, who are the ones hold that you get judged, once a year. Rabbi Yitzchak, Yafet Sakar Adam, Bein Kadem Gzar Din, Bein Lachar Gzar Din. Or it could be like Rabbi Yitzchak, who says that Saka, that going ahead and crying out is good for the Gzar Din, or it could be good even before, even afterwards. So even afterwards, even though there's a din that's bad, perhaps the tzaka can go ahead and be misrape and go ahead and and heal even something that had a bad judgment on Rosh Hashanah against
so
it.
according to Rabbi Yossi, that every day your tefillah is for what your grandgonna do that day.
Yeah, for that.
I would compile it every day, so Rosh Hashanah would be Gevaldik.
Yeah. Well, that's the other. The Rabbanan
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think.
So Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Akiva Mifnei Mamra Torah the Pesach. Why does we say go ahead and bring the Omer offering, the barley offering on Pesach? Mifnei Pesach Zman Tevuah, because it's a Zman of Tevuah. So since it's time of Tevuah, Samar Kodesh Baruch Aviyu Lefanai Omer Pesach Kadesh Yisparachem Lechem Tevuah. Right, bring the Omer offering, which is grains, right, in order that I'll bless you with grains. So why I say bring 2 loaves and atzeres and Shavuos man peros ha'ilon, because the atzeres, because Shavuos is man peros ha'ilon, is the time where the peros ha'ilon are brought, when the fruits are brought, because that's when the biggest amount of bikurim is brought. It's only after the shtei lechem is the bikurim brought. So therefore, right, the bikurim, the first fruits that you go ahead and bring in. So therefore, it's a zman of peros ha'ilon. So therefore, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu avi lefanai shtei lechem b'atzeres, bring for me the 2 lechem atzeres kedei. She's Baruch Lechem Peres Elon. Nor that I should bless you Peres Elon. Right. So it's only because you bring the bikurim afterwards. That's how Rashi learns it, right? Shelechem Rayisal Peres Elon Shehein Matirin Lahavi Bikurim. Right? Shein Mavin Bikurim Kaidul Atzeres, because you can't go ahead and bring the bikurim before. It's only then, and you bring the Shtei Lechem first. What's the reason why we do water libations on Sukkot? Right? Go ahead and do libations of water in order that they shall bless you with water from the rains for the year. Excuse me. And say Lefanai Rosh Hashanah Malchias Zichronos v'Shofros, and say before me the Malchias, memory of this kingdom, Zichronos and Shofros. Malchias, why? Today, Shetalichuni Aleichem, in order that I should have my judgment, my kingship, my sovereignty over you. Zichronos. In order that you should be remembered for me for good, and for good, and with what? B'shofar, and therefore b'shofar. So therefore we say Malchias Zichronos v'Shofros, because this is the zman of the judgment. And Amar Rivivo Lama Taikid b'Shofar Sha'ayil. Why is it that we go ahead and we use a shofar from a ram? Samar Kodesh Baruch Hu Tigul Lefanei b'Shofar Sha'ayil. Go ahead and blow the shofar Sha'ayil Kadesh Eskar Lechem. In order that I should remember for you guys on your behalf, Akedes Yitzchak ben Avram, the Akedes Yitzchak, as we just read this parsha, as if you went ahead and you sacrificed, right? That you guys did the Akedah before me, you'll have that. That's why we use the ram's horn. Now we have several statements regarding Rosh Hashanah from Rabbi Yitzchak. Omar Rabbi Yitzchak. Why do we blow shofar in Rosh Hashanah? What do you mean? The Torah says blow the shofar. So Ella Lama Marin. Why do we do a trua? So once again, Marin Rachman Amar is Zichron Trua. It says there's Zichron Trua, right? Members of Trua, and that's the Trua. It's Ella Lama Taikin Umarin Kshein Yoshvin. The Taikin Umarin Kshein Aimdim. Rather, why do you go ahead and blow the shofar first while you're sitting, in other words, before Shemona Esrei, and then while you're standing in Shemona Esrei, right? Why do you blow it twice? Kedei la'arbev hasatan. In order to go ahead to confuse the satan, right? In order to confuse the satan, right? When he hears that the Yisrael, as Rashi explains, right? He hears the Yisrael mechavis and mitzvahs. They love the mitzvahs. They do it often. They're sitting, standing, right? They do it. So therefore, he'll stumble over his words. He won't be able to go ahead and prosecute.
I think after a few years,
He'd pick up, yeah. Any year they don't go ahead and blow the shofar in the beginning, you'll be certainly blowing it at the end because they blow it over during public fasts and public prayers. And therefore, if you don't do it at the beginning of the year, you're not going to have a good judgment. And therefore, you're going to be crying out towards the end of the year.
That's also referring. There's something about also Shabbos.
No, but
Well, we say Shabbos, right? We don't, but we said
one day,
right? No, but the schus of being Shabbos protects even all of all these things, right? So my time, what's the reason, right? Because the sun was not mixed up that year. Any year, any year that I guess that was poor, right? Right, they made themselves poor and they cried out like paupers in the beginning of the year. They will be wealthy at the end of the year. There'll be a shiras. It says Meireshis Hashana. It says Meireshis in the beginning of the year. It says Meireshis, who is without an aleph ksiv, right? Meireshis Va'ad Achris until the end. In other words, Seifa Sheish Achris. In other words, there will be an end. So since there will be an end, maybe there'll be a good future from the humble beginnings. We only judge a person by his actions at that time. Says, right? And he listened out to Yishmael, right, as he was in that day, and not what he would do in the future. Right? There are three things that basically reminds, right, to go ahead and look into one's actions, right? Now it's basically one is judged, right? Shaladam. And what are they? Elohein kirnatui, right? A person stands next to a wobbly wall, right? A crooked wall, one that's he's putting himself in danger. So all of a sudden you put yourself in danger. All of a sudden, hey, why is this guy in danger? Maybe he should be killed, right? Tefillah, a person also davens really hard and expects his tefillos to go ahead and be answered. I daven so hard to be answered, and all of a sudden there's judgment. Okay, why do you think your tefillah should be answered? Didn't you do X, Y, and Z? That's another one. But Meisa Din Al Chaver, and also a person says, basically turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, Meisa Din didn't do me right. You go ahead and repay them. In other words, and therefore, by you saying that, you're going to get judged first before HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to repay him. The person who goes ahead and is Master Din Al Chaver, but even the Klapei Shemayim, right towards heavens, he actually gets judged first. Sarai Al Avram. Chamsi Alecha, right? She turns to Avram, basically says, that it was him. He was the one, right? Right? And no, you didn't good, right? And Hashem should judge you, right? She said at the end, Hashem should judge you because you did bad, right, in my eyes. So she's saying Hashem should judge you. So therefore, since she's saying Hashem judge, therefore she was judged first. Vayov Avram, these brothers started with Kaisa. Then Avram went to be.
40 plus years later.
Right. So then he went to go ahead, and but ultimately she was the one who was, who was killed first before him, right? Because she turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, Hashem should judge you.
Which is this is this where she was laughing and saying it's?
No, I think this is when Yishmael Hagar. Yeah. The pasuk says, right? I gave her to you, and she became pregnant, right? Right. Four things. One can go ahead and tear up the Gzar Din Shel Adam. Eloheinu Yisrael. Tzedakah, Tzaka, Shinui Hashem, the Shinui Maisa. Right, giving charity. Right, screaming out, crying out, davening. Right, changing one's name and changing one's actions. Tzedakah dechsiv. It says that tzedakah shall save from death. Tzaka dechsiv. Right. So this is a little right. So that is Mavinas Rag Zera, right? Mavinas Rag Zera, right? Mavirin, right? And this over here is right.
Tears up as opposed to this, probably the same thing. But we'll say it's
Right,
not okay.
yeah. All right, why don't we go change your name, right, every year?
Well, that's like an easy app.
So we'll see, right? So it says, and Tzaka d'chsiv vaytzku al Hashem b'tzar lahem v'tzkoseyam yotzim. So it says over there, Kufav Tehillim. So it says over there, right? They screamed out to Hashem, right? In other words, and they had a different decree to go ahead and tear up their to tear up their decree. And Shino Hashem changed the name d'chsiv Sarai Shechal Loiziga Shema. Sarai ki Sarah Shema, right? You should no longer be called Sarai, should be called Sarah. It says over there, Ben, right? And then now changing, now she'll have a son. So it's only after that you change the name did she go ahead and found that pasuk that she was have sons. So therefore, it changed the decree of not having children. And Shina Maisa, the pasuk says, "Vayar Elokim es Maaseyam." It says over there, Hashem saw by Ninveh, saw their deeds. It says, "V'nechem Elokim el Ra asher diber la'asas lahav lo yasa." Right? He didn't do what he was supposed to do. Ve'shavim, and some say Av Shina Makom, some say change of place. Vayom Hashem el Avram. Lech l'chol mi'artzecha, says leave your right, go over here, leave this land, your homeland, and go there. But when he got there, it says, "I'll make it to a great nation." So you see by the fact that he changed his shinui makom, he became a great nation. The idach, why the first one now lists shinui makom? So maybe that's only the chus of Eretz Yisrael is why he was made into a great nation. Nothing to do with the fact that it was a shinui. As if he would have moved to a different place in Bavel, or he wouldn't have been good. So chus of there's a hudahani. Fine. Once you go ahead and makabel the taste of Rebbe during a holiday, Shinamar, right? So the pasuk over there says things by Elisha. So he says there, why have you come to me? Right? That's not Rosh Chodesh. It's not Shabbos. It's not a holiday. So Mechlad b'Chodesh Shabbos. So they received that because I guess it was on holidays such as Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos and other holidays that they used to go ahead and visit the Rav. Fine. So a person should go ahead and purify himself, himself, go to the mikvah, beregel, for a holiday. He says, right? Do not touch the nevela, right? Don't touch that to be mitame, right? As his man of karbonos. And Tanim Yahachi, some who learn they should not go ahead and touch the nevela. So Yachol Yisrael Muzarin al Maga nevela. Maybe you should think that this is referring to Yisrael. They should be careful not to touch a nevela carcass. Therefore, it says Emor el Kohanim b'nei Aaron. It says speak to the Kohanim and tell them b'nei Aaron Muzarim b'nei Yisrael ein Muzarim. It says b'nei Aaron, they are commanded in terms of tumas mace, right? Not to come into contact with a dead body. So Bnei Yisrael ain't Muzarim, and Bnei Yisrael is not warned. It's a kavachemer. Ma tuma chamura kohanim muzarim Yisrael muzarim. When it comes to tuma chamura, the pasuk is talking about touching a dead body. It's only the kohanim and not the Yisrael. And Yisrael is ain't Muzarim. So tuma kala l'koshkin. And certainly by touching a vela, certainly Yisrael should not be commanded. So Ella, if that's the case, what is it talking about? That he shouldn't go ahead and a vela should not touch. It means beregel. It is referring to a regel. And Amar Rabbi Kusbadai, Amar Rabbi Yechon, Shleish Sfarim Rosh Hashanah. There are 3 books that are opened on Rosh Hashanah. Echad Shoshaim. One of wicked, for the wicked, the Gemurim, Rishon Gemurim, V'echad Shel Tzadikin Gemurim, the other ones of Tzadikin Gemurim, and V'echad Shel Beinayim, and the other ones of the people in the middle of the road. Tzadikin Gemurim, Nechtamim La'al L'chaim. So tzaddikim, completely righteous people, are written and signed immediately in the book of life. Rishon Gemurim. Russia Gomor, right? So Nechtamim la'alter lemisa, they are immediately written lemisa, and Beinainem Talim v'Aimdim Roshana ad Yom Kippur. They wait and until they're Gemar Din on Yom Kippur. Zachu, if they were zeicha during that period of time, so Nichtavim l'Chaim, then they're written l'Chaim. Zachu, they were not zeicha, then Nichtavim l'Misa. Then they're written l'Misa. And Amar Rav Yavi, my Kravat pasuk says Yimachul Mesefer Chaim Bim Tzadikim Al Yichtavu. right? So the pasuk over there was David was saying, I guess those who were, trying to go ahead against him. He says Yimachu, so it's referring to 3 books. Yimachu, maybe Sefer Zeh, right? That was the Sefer Shoshaim. In other words, they should be, erased from this book. They should, referring to a book of Rishayim. Gemurim, Chaim, when it says Chaim, Sefer Chaim, that's Sefer Shel Tzadikim, that's referring to the Sefer Shel Tzadikim. Beim Tzadikim, there with Tzadikim, the Shabi written, that's Sefer Shel Beinonim, that's referring to the Beinonim. So we see there are 3 books. And different pasuk implies 3 books. Vim ein mechani lan misberecha shechasati mechani not. So when Moshe Rabbeinu says, right, if not, then erase my name from this book that you wrote. So mechani na, when he's delete me says Sefer Shel Rishayim. That's referring to Rishayim. V'sifrecha from your book says Sefer Shel Tzadikim. That's Sefer Shel Tzadikim. Asher kasavta that you wrote says Sefer Shel Beinonim. That's the Sefer of Beinonim. And Tanya. And so we learned that a brisa. There's 2 more lines. We'll turn the page. Beisham Yamim Gimel Kizas Hey, the 3 groups similar to each other earlier. Liyamadin for the day of judgment. Achas Shel Tzadikim Gemurim. One is Tzadikim Gemurim. Achas Shel Rishayim Gemurim. The other one is wicked people. The Achas Shel Beinonim. The other ones are people who are in between. Tzadikim Gemurim. The Tzadikim Gemurim are then sealed immediately l'chai olam, right, to life in the world. And Rishayim. Gemurim, Nichtavim, the altar, the Gehenim, they are in and they sent to Gehenim. Shnei says, Rabbim, Mishnei Admas, Afar, Yitzu, Eilu L'chai Olam, Eilu L'charefus, the Diran Olam, the Diran Olam. So the pasuk over there says, right? So it says that there, and those who sleep, right, in the dust of the earth, they will wake up, right, and then it will be a life of shame for the Diran Olam, right? Forever lasting, was the title over here? Abhorrence, right? So Beinonim Yardim Gehenim, and so they go down to, so the other ones will go down to Gehenim immediately. The Tzadikim Gemurim Chaim Olam Haba, and the Beinonim Yardim Gehenim, they go down to Gehenim. Then it says Musasim Eilim. Then they basically get scorched a little bit, right? They cry out a little bit for the Yisurim, and then they come back up. Then they're brought up. As the pasuk says. Beivesi as a shlish beisu tzaratem kitzraf as a kasa v'chantim kivchon as a zab who yikra b'shmi v'ani and also. It says over there, I'll bring a third into the fire, right, and purify it like metals, right, and it'll call out my name and I will answer. Chana says Hashem memis. Hashem, he kills, right? And then he brings them to life. He puts them down to Sheol, into the Gehenim, and then he brings them up. Beis Elohim, Rav Chesed is full of Chesed. Matek Labi Chesed. It's the din is towards Chesed, it leans towards Chesed. Right, and Hashem, and he said, so I guess David said, Hafti, I love Ki Yishma Hashem as Koli. Hashem listens to my voice. He listens to them scream out, and he brings them up. I was poor, but then he saved me. So we see that in the beginning that it's bad, right? It's in Gehenim, and then they call out, and then they are brought up by Kadosh Baruch Hu. We will stop here. Everyone have a wonderful day.